Welcome back to Comic Book History, episode number 30. Yes, 30. This will be the first of a four-part series where first of four episodes talk about four supervillain teams who fought the Avengers. First up is the Spider-Man Rogues group, the Sinister Six. Yes, these guys did fight the Avengers, though it's one of the more recent incarnations they did that. But let's talk about the Sinister Six. Formed first appearance in the first annual for Amazing Spider-Man released back in 1964. Now, initially put, there were six members, obviously. And the only reason there were six because at this point in time, Dr. Octopus, in his, fourth appearance at this point, wanted to have a gathering of every single villain who Spider-Man fought at this point. And he only get 5 other people besides him. He tried contacting Doctor Doom. He got no answer. The Lizard, they couldn't trust him at all, and he got no return info. He basically had no contact from the Green Goblin either, though the Green Goblin does join the Sinister Six much later on. So we have 6 people. We have Dr. Octopus. We have the original Kraven the Hunter, Sergei Kravinoff, which is by far the only time he's been part of the Sinister Six, because the rest of the time it's his either it's his son or some, and there's other people who replaced him over the years. We have Electro, who's been part of pretty much almost every single incarnation except about 2 or 3. There's also the Sandman, who's part of the first 3 incarnations of the Sinister Six, and Mysterio. This, of course, is the original one. What's his name here? I kind of forgot his real name. I think his name is Denton Beck. Oh, it's Quilton Beck, yeah. This is the original incarnation of Sinister Six. So they only appeared in just the Amazing Spider-Man Annual, where their plan was simply just to get revenge on Spider-Man. So what they decided to do, they drew cards and had Spider-Man fight one-on-one, and later on, I think it was briefly at the end, they actually had to fight. Basically, Spider-Man had to beat these guys to get these cards, and simply put, this is also when they started the very uncomfortable romance between May Parker and Dr. Octopus. I'm not kidding. May Parker is a woman who looks like she's supposed to be in her 60s, and Dr. Octopus is supposed to be in his 30s or 40s. Yeah, the uncomfortable romance. Yeah, the seeds are planted in this particular thing. And of course, they also kidnapped Betty Brant. He initially wanted to kidnap Betty Brant at first, but because May Parker was with her, he decided, why not? I'll kidnap her as well. So basically, he fought them one by one. Spider-Man defeats them, and Spider-Man like, oh yeah, we'll get him next time. And like, nope, we're not taking orders from you ever again. That was until 20 years later when Dave Michelini and Eric Larson brought these characters back for a 6-part storyline known as The Return of the Sinister Six. Him and Eric Larson did this, and the new lineup is simply Dr. Octopus, Electro, the Jason McIngale Hobgoblin, Quinton Beck, Sandman, and of course the Vulture. I forgot the Vulture. He was actually part of the original incarnation as well. Yeah, he was part of that. Vulture is part of a few incarnations, but not every single one. I think he missed a few of them. Yeah. That's simply what it is with him. And during the course of the storyline, there was a recurring character who had been appearing in the Spider-Man comic at this point, who was May Parker's first fiance. First guy she was going to marry, one of the few guys she was going to marry before she married Jonah Jameson Sr. in Amazing Spider-Man 600. His name was Nathan, and he got killed by the Vulture. I'm not kidding. He got killed by the Vulture. One of the more interesting storylines that basically Marvel has done. After that, they returned once again for the Revenge of the Sinister Six in I think it was a 6-part story from Spider-Man. Yeah, there was just a Spider-Man title. Originally started by Tom McFarlane, and I think it was taken over in issue 13 by Eric Larson, who basically did the writing and artwork. Yeah, and basically, this lasted from issues actually Return 6 to basically took up issues 34, 30 Amazing Spider-Man. Spider-Man took up issues 18 to 13. Yeah. The new incarnation, this incarnation basically wanted to revenge Dr. Octopus. Basically, it was Electro, Mysterio, Vulture, Hobgoblin, of course Dr. Octopus, because, well, you can't have him at Dr. Octopus. They also had God join the team. This was the first time the Sandman was not part of the incarnation of the lineup. Yeah, this was the first time he wasn't. Though he does later on, years later, rejoin the incarnation. Though Spider-Man, because we have this new Sinister Six and basically whole nuclear stuff basically happening, he decided to form his own team basically to take on the Sinister Six. Who did he decide to recruit? Let's see. He recruited the Fantastic Four, Nova, Solo. I think he also recruited even the Ghost Rider, Deathlock. He recruited a bunch of characters. I mean, yeah, this has been well before the Maximum Carnage storyline. But yeah, he recruited a lot of people and he defeated them. After that, they returned for a few one-off appearances. First, it was in the Sinister 7. Yeah, which they appeared for, I believe, was an issue of Spider-Man Unlimited. This was during the Clone Saga because, well, they had to come about to take revenge against Kane because he killed Dr. Octopus and he killed the Grim Hunter, one of 3 sons of Kraven the Hunter. His second son does join a later incarnation of the Sinister Six. His third son never met any other villain aside from Chameleon because Chameleon killed him off at the end of a miniseries that introduced him to get Kraven. This incarnation, formed by the Hobgoblin, basically consisted of formerly recurring Human Torch villain, and later on became a recurring villain for Spider-Man a lot of the time, even for the Sinister Syndicate. And this guy became founding member of Thunderbolts, which I'll talk about them in a future video. But yeah, occasional one. You also have Mysterio, Scorpina, Shocker, and the Vulture. Scorpina is basically, well, she's basically a female version of the Scorpion. Yeah, something that has the Scorpion ever part of the Sinister Six? Not at this point, no. This is well before the one they introduced in 2006. Yeah, this is one debut before that. They only formed this one issue and they never returned ever again this incarnation. And then you have another version formed by the Sandman to prevent Dr. Octopus, consisting of Electro, Kraven the Hunter, who's Asa Kraven off this point, Mysterio, Venom, first time he joins this time point, and the Vulture. This incarnation basically was part of a 2-part crossover appearance between Peter Parker Spider-Man Volume 2, Issue 12, and Amazing Spider-Man Volume 12, basically also involved Arthur Stacy, the uncle of the late Spider-Man love interest, Gwen Stacy. Yeah, and they also had this incarnation basically used the updated looks, like Electro was using his Chapter 1 look. A lot of the characters used in Chapter 1 looks. I mean, yeah, looks were fine, but yeah. After that, we had an incarnation form in the pages of Marvel Knights Spider-Man, which at this point, this was the largest incarnation of the Sinister Lamp. This was Sinister 12, consisted of Green Goblin, he was the leader of the group, Boomerang, Chameleon, Electro, Hammerhead, Hydro Man, the Lizard, Sandman, Shocker, Tombstone, the first Vulture, and Matt Gorgon, who was previously Scorpion, who became Venom in the storyline. Also in this very storyline, Blackie Drago, the second Vulture, made a brief return after, at this point, it had been a little over, I'd say, 30 years since his last appearance. Apparently, he was still in jail. He made a quick cameo. I was like, oh yeah, he's still in jail because after 2 times he put on the Vulture costume, he just retired. Never put on the costume over again. And there have been a total of 4 Vultures over the years. You have Adrian Toomes, Blackie Drago, you have Clifton Sam, who was a professor at Empire University, who after his storyline basically disappeared, never appeared again. And then you have the 4th Vulture, who was known, I call him the Red Vulture because he wears a red suit. And he got killed by the Punisher. Not kidding, he got killed by the Punisher. Yep. Yeah, this at this point was a very large incarnation of the Sinister Six. And pretty much they were formed just to kill Spider-Man the Black Cat until the Avengers, Fantastic Four, and a few other heroes just simply took them down while Spider-Man went to go rescue his kidnapped wife. At this point, this was before One More Day, because the Green Goblin took her to the Brooklyn Bridge, which apparently one of the many different retcons of what bridge that basically Gwen Stacy was on. This apparently was the same bridge that Gwen Stacy was killed at. But Spider-Man does save her, and Norman also goes off to jail. Yep. One of the more exciting storylines, basically, the Sinister Six has had. There was an off-screen incarnation of Sinister Six, consisted of Dr. Octopus, the Grim Reaper. I'm thinking an Avengers villain. This is a little odd. Yeah, who's also brother of Wonder Man. The Lizard, Shocker, Trapster, a Fantastic Four villain, and the Vulture. Yeah, they appear off-screen. Then you have the Sinister Six. Basically, this is forming probably one of the best storylines that the Spider-Man writers did. This point, the Origin Species, which had at this point almost every single Spider-Man villain in existence in this storyline. Yeah, like Spider-Man was going on a capture frenzy, like beating up criminals and basically dropping up the precinct. It was one of the most interesting storylines that they have done, and this incarnation was the most interesting incarnation they had done at this point. This one consisted of pretty much most of the original lineup, minus Kraven the Hunter. Pretty much it consists of Dr. Octopus, Chameleon, Electro, Mysterio, Rhino, and the Sandman. Though the Chameleon, for some reason, it was the second Chameleon, not the original one. Yeah, I've never really understood why in the world they couldn't use the original one. Yeah, it was a bit bizarre, but yeah. But that's basically the way it is. Now, this one became the most active group. Instead of appearing in like one story, they appeared in several storylines, which led to Ends of the Earth, which was a great storyline. This Sinister Six popped up almost everywhere. These guys popped up in not only Amazing Spider-Man, they also popped up in an issue of Avengers Academy. Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah, these guys popped up several times, and then during the Ends of the Earth storyline, Spider-Man with the Avengers. Yeah, with the Avengers in his brand new anti-Sinister Six suit, which this suit after the storyline only appeared once after this, and then never appeared ever again. Apparently, it was destroyed along with Horizon Labs. Basically, Spider-Man had the Avengers, which consisted of at this point, it doesn't list on here, but people like pretty much it kind of consists of pretty much the movie lineup of the Sinister Six with Wolverine. Like they had in the storyline, they had Electro take on Thor, and Thor sent him to space, and he wasn't seen again for like a year until he popped up in Spider-Man team up when Dr. Octopus, who took over the body of Spider-Man, basically at this point, take him on. Also during the storyline, Dr. Octopus was dying. Excuse me. And this is part of a recurring thread they basically had up until issue 700. The Rhino was the only member who actually died in this incarnation. Yeah, Sandman was captured. Electro was sent to space. Let's see. Mysterio, surprisingly, he basically defected he basically turned against them. The Chameleon was immediately captured. Like, yeah, Spider-Man knew this was a Chameleon just by looking at him because he basically had his suit designed to detect if it was a Chameleon, and hiding up, and basically he just punched him and got knocked out pretty quickly. Rhino apparently tried to drown the Silver Sable, who had teamed up with Spider-Man at this point, and he even hijacked a vehicle, call it the Spider-Man Mark II, which I thought was hilarious. Yeah, so pretty much Octopus got captured. Rhino apparently drowned along with Silver Sable. This was later retcon later on. Yeah, they actually retconned this a few years later, where Rhino survived. They don't give as far as I know, Slott has never given a proper explanation of how in the world he survived. He did give an explanation of how Silver Sable survived, that she apparently was wearing a stealth suit, and that allowed her to basically survive being nearly drowned by the Rhino. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, you give a good explanation of how Silver Sable survived, but not the Rhino. Yeah, and the only reason why Rhino was working with Dr. Octopus was because he wanted to see the world burn, because his wife died. Not kidding, his wife died, so he wanted to see the world burn. Yeah, his wife got killed by the second Rhino. Yeah, he got killed by the second Rhino. Of course, later on, Rhino basically killed the second Rhino by simply ramming his horn into his gut. Not kidding. This was, of course, during the Gauntlet storyline. Yep. So, yeah. Something from the Gauntlet storyline basically influenced this storyline. Yep. After this, basically, Dr. Octopus died. Took over Spider-Man. Everybody basically knows what happens after this. Of course, Peter Parker took it back. Dr. Octopus later went into the body of the living brain. They got a clone body. Got two of them. First, basically, clone body was original, what he originally looked like. Then, basically, the one he got currently right now. Yeah, and that's simply what happened to him. And then after that, we had a few other incarnations of the Sinister Six. We had a version formed in the first issue of the Superior Force of Spider-Man. Consisted of, let's see, it was Boomerang, Overdrive, who actually was a new villain they introduced post One More Day. Interesting villain. Yeah, he just drives a car, wears a helmet. Yeah. Shocker, Speed Demon, who actually is not a Spider-Man villain. He is... I think he's a villain of somebody else. I'm not sure really why he's become part of this incarnation. He is a... I think he's an Avengers villain. Yeah, he's an Avengers villain. I have no idea why. The only reason why I think that he should appear because in Amazing Spider-Man, that's when he became the Speed, because originally he was known as a wizard. Yeah. After this one storyline, this... Oh, yeah, and Athena Beetle. Basically, Living Brain basically was captured by Spider-Man, basically became a recurring character for the next 2 years until the body was destroyed. This incarnation, Sinister Six, basically got their own spin-off title called The Superior Force of Spider-Man, which was lasted for 17 issues, and it was written by Nick Spencer. It was a really interesting title. I highly recommend it. Basically, at Sinister Six, basically, they're just like 5 people just doing whatever. Basically also finding Superman's head. Yeah, and of course, like, it's about Shocker shoving the trunk of a car. Yeah, it's one of the most interesting books you ever get a chance to read. And some people believe that this book led influence for Nick Spencer's run for Ant-Man, which was really, really good. And then you have the Superior Six. Yeah, the Superior Six, which consisted of, well, the Superior Spider-Man. Now, these characters were captured... how should I put this? These are part of a story, basically a story that started in the pages of Superior Spider-Man. Superior Spider-Man team up, where actually started avenging Spider-Man, and basically sort of a little thread like, okay, Superior Spider-Man's capturing these villains for some reason, and then he captures them. Like, he captures Electro. He captures pretty much everybody, like even Mysterion. Now, who is Mysterion? Mysterion was a new villain that basically had popped up toward the end of Avenging Spider-Man series. He is technically the 4th Mysterio, and he's black. Yeah, he's black. Popped up a few times after this storyline wrapped up, and that was really it. Yeah, Sandman was captured at some point, and also prior to this, they also had Vulture, who had been blinded by the Superior Spider after he was dropped in the Spidey signal, in this giant version, in basically a giant spotlight. In issue 3, Spider-Man hit him so hard, basically he fell directly into the spotlight, basically blinding him. Yeah, and Superior Spider was very violent. After the storyline wrapped up, Vulture has since popped up a couple times since the storyline has wrapped up. He popped up in the Free Comic Day issue that came out just this year for Spectacular Spider-Man, and he popped up in issue, I believe it was issue 5 of the current book. Sandman disappeared, as far as I can tell. He recently did pop up in Spider-Man number 234. He popped up, yes. Mysterion popped up like once after this one, the Invasion of Dinosaurs. Electro died. Yeah. Basically, like, about 2 years later, 2 years after the storyline wrapped up, this took up issues 5 through 7 of Superior Spider-Man team up, and then he got killed by his girlfriend, who got killed off in the first issue of Amazing Spider-Man Volume 3. Yeah, who got brought back as a clone, and that Electro is still around. Yeah, basically, she killed him by the same way he killed her by accident, basically making out with him and sucking him dry. And makes him the only Spider-Man villain from the Steve Ditko era to actually be confirmed to be dead. And he's still dead. Yep. As for Chameleon, I don't know what the heck he's up to. I mean, he is just semi-disappeared. Let's see. Well, he did pop up in Deadpool Annual. That's really it. Yeah. As far as I know, he hasn't really done much anything else. Now, Mysterion, how he got his suit is that apparently because Quilted Beck was set in the Ultimate Universe when the Ultimate Universe was still around. Somebody put his equipment up for sale, and this new guy bought it and became the new Mysterion. And the person who sold it was the Hobgoblin. Yeah, he was doing this thing. He started in Superior Spider-Man where he was franchising villains. Basically, he would sell these criminals an identity, a mask, a costume, and basically whatever money they made, basically Hobgoblin would get a share. It was one of the most interesting ideas, basically, Slott came up with when it came to basically writing the Hobgoblin. Yep. And then you have the Sinister 16, formed in the pages of Superior Foes of Spider-Man, which consisted of Boomerang, Owl, Armadillo, the female Beetle, Bi-Beast, Clown. I think this guy was from the Circus of Crime. We also had Cyclone, and I think this is supposed to be the second one because the first one was killed by Scourge in the Underworld. Human Fly, Kangaroo, Mountain Man Marco, Mirage, Overdrive, Scorcher, Shriek, Speed Demon, Spot, and the Squid. Yeah, one of the most weirdest incarnations. And then you have a incarnation that showed up in Spider-Man and the X-Men called the Superior 66, formed by Mojo, consisted of the Beetle, Carnage, Demogoblin, Dr. Octopus, Electro, Gibbon, Green Goblin, don't know which one, Grizzly. This was the Spider-Man version of Grizzly, not the one popped up in pages of X-Force, who actually is a good guy now. Hammerhead, Hobgoblin, I don't know which one it was, Jackal, probably Miles Warren, Jack-O-Lantern, Kingpin, Craven Hunter, Lizard, Morbius, Mysterio, Puma, who actually is not a Spider-Man villain, Rhino, Ringer, Sandman, Scorpion, Shocker, Tombstone, Venom, Vermin, and Vulture. Yep, that was just something that he came up with. This popped up in just an issue of, and then there was the Sinister 8, formed with characters who, as far as I know, with the exception of one, are not Spider-Man villains. Basically, formed by Swarm, consisted of 8-Ball, Delilah, Killer Strike, I think this is supposed to be the second one, the Melter, and a character known as a Squid. And the new incarnation, which just showed up in Spider-Man number 234, formed by Aaron Davis, Miles Morales' uncle, who apparently is new Iron Spider, who basically his color scheme is basically blue, I think it's like black and gold. Yeah, it was one of the most interesting things he's done with it. And his version consisted of himself, Bombshell, this is mother of Luna, who is a supporting character who has thing from Miles. Electro, this is of course the female Electro, who Slott created because he killed off the original one. Hobgoblin, I think it's supposed to be Richard Kingsley. The Spot, and the Sandman. Yeah, so basically a very interesting group of characters. Now, have these characters ever appeared? There have been other versions of this group. You have a version that basically appeared in Age of Apocalypse because of Blob, Cloak, Dagger, Phoenix, Chiron, and Chinook, basically from Mr. Sinister. Avatar comes as Shield, Technus, Jolt, Huntsman, Mysterium, Sandstorm, Tellar. I think it's from the Algram universe. From the Spider-Man novels, basically, the Gentleman, this basically was a character who also appeared in one of the Spacing Spider-Man films. His incarnation consisted of Pitty, Mysterio, Vulture, Electro, Doctor. This was not canon. This one from the Marvel Zombie universe consisted of the Doctor Octopus, Electro, Green Goblin, Mysterio, Sandman, and Vulture. Another one, basically, mostly original line, basically adding Craven Hunter. Spider-Verse, you have Green Goblin, Doctor Octopus, Electro, Craven Hunter, and Vulture. Ultimate Six from the Ultimate Universe. This one popped up a couple times throughout the entirety of the Ultimate Universe. And this consisted of Green Goblin, Doctor Octopus, Electro, Craven Hunter, and Vulture. Yeah, this incarnation first showed up in the Ultimate Six miniseries, which originally was supposed to be 6 issues, but was spread out to 7, and Spider-Man was somehow added to this group because it was blackmailed. This group later returned for the Death of Spider-Man storyline, where Norman killed off He killed Dr. Octopus. Sandman got captured. Electro got killed and somehow came back. He got killed by Aunt May of all people. Yeah. And everybody else was captured. There's a version from the Web Warrior series. Carnage, Electro, Hobgoblin, Cornuff, Magnus, and Scorpion. From Secret Wars, there was like 2 different versions. One from the Spider-Verse miniseries, because of Dr. Octopus, Scorpion, Kraven the Hunter, Electro, Sandman, Vulture. For Renew Your Vows is Dr. Octopus, Hobgoblin, Kraven the Hunter, Mysterio, Shocker, and Vulture. Yeah. As for outside the comics, they popped up a few times. First in the Spider-Man cartoon, which for some stupid reason they were called this in the Insidious Six. Because apparently they thought the word Sinister was too scary for kids. And yet there's a character known as Mr. Sinister on the X-Men. I have no idea what Fox was up to basically when they came up with this name. And this was probably by far a really interesting group of characters. You have the Chameleon, Dr. Octopus, Rhino, Scorpion, Shocker, and Mysterio. He was part of this. They popped up for the first couple episodes of season 2, then disappeared, and they pop up again to the Six Forgotten Warrior storyline, which Kingpin basically assembled this group, and they had Vulture take over as a member. I should point out though that the outfit that Vulture wears is also the outfit he was wearing in the 1990s in this series, where he was looking young. Yeah, it was something that the writers came up with, basically. It actually is a pretty good look for him. Then in the Spider-Man cartoon, you have the membership consisted of Dr. Octopus, Electro, Rhino, Sandman, Vulture, and Shocker. And Shocker, in this show, believe it or not, was Montana from the Enforcers. Not kidding. Though they also use this kind of version for Spider-Man Homecoming for some strange reason. No idea why. They popped up several times, and of course they also had Mysterio join the group, and of course they had Kraven the Hunter filling for Dr. Octopus. And also Spider-Man, these people who join the group, there are these various incarnations. You have Dr. Octopus, Kraven the Hunter, who in this show had a history with White Tiger, basically killed off, basically the White Tiger previous show basically killed off her predecessors. Rhino, Electro, Lizard, Scorpion, Beetle, Ultimate Green Goblin, Hydro Man, Scarlet Spider, Vulture, and the Lizard, who was also Crossbones for some reason. Yeah. There was a version of this group up here in the movies. This didn't go. This basically wasn't going to go anywhere. And this one was going to consist of Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, Kraven the Hunter, Mysterio, Rhino, and Vulture. Yeah. They had a few versions pop up in the video games. But yeah, that's really it. And of course, in the Turn Off Dark Play. But the thing with the Sinister Six, they're a great group. And the last time they physically made an appearance in the comic book was actually just recently. Yeah, I'm very happy the fact that Bendis brought back the Sinister Six. Though people are probably thinking maybe Sinister Six pop up Amazing Spider-Man. Nope, Slap doesn't want anything to do with the Spider-Man villains at all. Unless, of course, it's Dr. Octopus. So Bendis is like, okay, so he formed his own version of the Sinister Six. Basically, characters appeared in like a few other books. But I think the reason why he had Sandman just to add credibility to the group. Yeah, so long history for this group of characters. And like I said, these guys have fought the Avengers once. But they have fought them. But yeah, Sinister Six is a great group of characters. I kind of wish this group would come back more basically before recently. Possibly during the events of Clone Conspiracy. They could have versions pop up in there, but nope. It just basically threw in like every single dead Spider-Man villain basically at Spider-Man and basically a bunch of other characters who died over the years in their storyline, but nope. I'm happy the fact Bendis brought these characters back. Thank you, Bendis, for bringing these characters back. Okay, so that is it for this long episode of Comic Book History, episode 30. The next episode, I'm going to talk about the Lethal Legion. No, wait, not Lethal Legion. I'm going to say in the next episode. I'm going to talk about the first supervillain group the Avengers ever fought. And the most prolific group that fought many times over the years, despite the fact that recently they very rarely fight them anymore. Who? The Masters of Evil. Yep, these guys. Okay? But until then, I will see you there. Bye.